Al Sharpton, who not only runs the National Action Network, that's his nonprofit organization, which is very sketchy to begin with, he hosts a show on MSNBC. And it just came out today via the Free Beacon, which is a great group, Chuck Ross there, that her campaign donated $500,000 to his nonprofit weeks before Harris went to sit with him for an interview on MSNBC. This is so irresponsible, unethical, and not allowed. It's so egregious, MSNBC is going to have to respond.
Deeper into this in the next hour, but look, here's another example of how dishonest this entire campaign was. You know about Oprah getting $1 million, right? You know about that. MSNBC says it was unaware that Kamala Harris paid Al Sharpton's organization $500,000 in front of that softball interview. All the interviews were bought and paid for. Beyonce got paid, what, $1 million or whatever? $10 million maybe, to show up and not sing. What did Eminem get paid? Everybody got paid. And the contributors completely ripped off. In fact, some say there could be fraud here because there are now reports that the internal polling for the Harris campaign shows exactly what we've known for a long time, that Donald Trump was going to win. They knew it for weeks.
You cannot make a donation to an anchor's charity on the side of $500,000 as a presidential candidate, then go sit with the anchor, and he didn't disclose it. This is not a news organization, but they continue to masquerade as one.
Guys, this whole thing fell apart faster and harder than I had ever imagined, because as you can see, Al Sharpton was paid by the Kamala Harris campaign. Now, at this point, it's safe to assume that everybody has been paid, okay? This isn't exactly breaking news, but what is that Cenk Uygur, okay, secretly based Cenk Uygur is going off on Al Sharpton. He's been going off on Democrats for like months, like maybe over a year now, but he's going off specifically on Al Sharpton for being a race hustler, okay? Taking that black trauma that so many people have that drives them to do and believe ridiculous things. Whenever you see black people just thinking these crazy thoughts and saying stupid racist things and always supporting the Democrats no matter what, realize that it's people like Al Sharpton that perpetuate these race hoaxes and finding racism where racism doesn't exist because the demand is greater than the supply. So people like Al Sharpton pull it out of there, you know what, and like say, here you go, I got some more racism for you, so give me money. And even the likes of boneheaded Cenk Uygur have called this out. Let's get into it.
Okay, can we just be honest? Al Sharpton is the original grifter. So if you don't know, back in the days in New York, anytime there was any kind of racial conflict, this fat ass would show up in a jumpsuit, and he would demagogue against Jews, by the way, specifically, and get people super mad to the point where they nearly attacked Jewish people. And he was a menace, an absolute menace in the New York area, okay? And then all that got magically forgiven. Why did it get forgiven when that stuff never gets forgiven?
Why did it get forgiven?
Because he decided to embrace professional corruption. He was running 2-bit scams back in the day because he didn't know any better, right? But he's a smart guy, so he wisened up and he's like, oh, the way the professionals do this is they kiss the ass of the donors, they kiss the ass of the politicians, and they get the real money, the big money. And did he shake down a lot of businesses saying, hey, if you don't give me money, I'm gonna call you racist? Okay, go ahead and catch feelings. Yes, he did, okay? And do you wanna know how Comcast was allowed to merge and actually acquire NBC and MSNBC? They had a massive race problem. Al Sharpton came in and said, no, they don't. They don't have any race problem. Guess where Al Sharpton wound up? Hired by Comcast at MSNBC. Funny how that works, right? Wow. He got way better on his grift, okay? And he's been taking this kind of money his whole life, and that's why he does the softball interviews. That's why If you criticize Al Sharpton in the old days, people would be like, God damn yes. Now if you criticize Al Sharpton, they go, oh, well, you're being a racist. Racist! No. Why? Because he's now part of the establishment. So now his new mob, the establishment cartel, protects Al Sharpton, and as he runs the scam time and time again. And there he is sitting on Morning Joe as they lecture about good journalism, a story we covered earlier in the show, right?
Wow.
Come on.
I mean, look, I knew some of that about Al Sharpton. I didn't know about him shaking down businesses in New York with allegations of racism.
Oh, I mean, he went on and on. He was in the middle of creating riots. So he would go into the most, like flammable situations, for lack of a better word, and he would come in there with a match and start lighting things on fire, right? And when he went after it, he said, "Oh, the Jews are running these businesses," and riled people up against Jewish Americans. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen. And okay, so that happens from time to time with a Nick Fuentes, etc. But Nick Fuentes is like
persona non grata.
Yeah, he's
right?
totally shunned by everyone who's legitimate. But Al Sharpton welcomed with open arms. Why? Because he switched up his grift, and he realized.
Well, I think, guys, there's one thing that Cenk doesn't quite have right here. It's like he gets it, or at least maybe he's not saying it, but it's because he's a black dude. Okay, when you're black, a lot of the time they feel like you can say no wrong. Like especially if you denigrate white people. Okay, a lot of the people primarily that are Jewish will be white. A lot of time when they denigrate anybody who's white, they don't care. A lot of time, if you hadn't noticed based off this last year, ever since October 7th, people who denigrate Jewish people aren't exactly too harshly demonized here in America. So you combine the blatant anti-Semitism that exists within our government institutions, combine that with the fact that Al Sharpton is black, and he's gonna use that race shield, okay, same thing that Gorilla Grip Willis did. Letitia James out in New York, a black woman said that the American politicians are too male, too pale, and too stale.
Which is too male, too pale, and too stale.
Then when Donald Trump called her racist, she called him racist for calling her racist. These people are crazy.
The establishment grift is the best grift of all. You set up a nonprofit, they funnel you $500,000, you kiss their ass on air, and if anybody accuses you of anything, you just call them racist. So he's been playing identity politics his whole life. He's nothing but a grifter. So if any of you catch feelings over that, because you were part of his grift and he donated a little bit to your show, or he donated a little bit to your organization, by the way, that's a smart way to run the grift. What you do is you dole out a little tiny taste of the money you got from giant corporations, etc., so that everybody shuts up about the scam that you're running. So there you go. And look, I didn't say any of it was illegal. It's my opinion that he's a giant grifter, okay? And you could look up all that information on your own.
Anybody surprised or think that Cenk Uygur would just lie about this? I mean, this is Al Sharpton that we're talking about, okay? You saw that he got paid and did not disclose it. As a matter of fact, pretty much nobody did. The only reason we even know that this stuff even happened is because of the FEC filings. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't know anything. We would possibly believe that all of these people contributing towards Kamala Harris and stomping for her actually were legitimate. They were genuine, but they probably didn't care. They felt like, well, as long as we win the election, it doesn't matter what people find out afterward. It just proves how fraudulent these people are. How many stories have you seen about, somebody comes out and supports Trump and they received $2 million? How many stories have you seen that reflect that? I've seen the opposite. Somebody came out and supported Trump and they donated a bunch of their money to help him win. In Kamala's case, Kamala had to donate, she had to get donations and use that money to pay a bunch of other people to help her win. And since it was so disingenuous, she still didn't win.
Was it also these kind of excuses, this kind of shifting blame?
Thank you so much for having me. It Absolutely it was. And it's the same MO every single time. Every single time we host one of these calls, and we try to do it on a monthly basis, the comment section is turned off. Everyone is muted except the speaker. So there's no chance for a back and forth. It's all just basically lecturing to us. And they fail to take any accountability for the $1 billion, 1.5 that was raised through the campaign, another $1 billion that was raised through the super PAC. Where did all that money go? And I raised tens of millions of that. And I have a duty of care to my donors, not just my top donors who gave $1 million and more, but to my donors who gave $10 to $25. And that was a huge sacrifice for them. How could the American people possibly trust that the Democratic Party can handle our taxpayer funds properly if they can't even handle campaign funds? And there was no sense of introspection or humility or a sense of responsibility about, oh, yes, we realize that mistakes were made and we're going to do better. No, it was all backslapping and congratulating. I was just like, we were floored. And I was texting with my fellow donors as the call was proceeding, and we just couldn't believe what was happening. She was even talking about our Thanksgiving recipe. And we were just like, oh, my God.
So anytime a bunch of black folks are out there telling me I should listen to people like Al Sharpton, Roland Martin, Ricky Smiley, Steve Harvey, a bunch of these self-serving, bougie black men, okay, some of these sassy brothers out here, bear in mind that these people are getting paid. Roland Martin also got paid, okay? Steve Harvey got some favors from Kamala Harris. These people are out for themselves, guys. So-called black leaders looking after the community want to treat me like the enemy, the Uncle Tom. Meanwhile, they're out here getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, in some cases, millions of dollars. Shout out to Oprah Winfrey. And then turn around and treat people like me like I'm the enemy. I'm a hell of a lot closer to the income level in the black experience compared to some of these other fools out here that are in a multi-million dollar, in some cases, billion-dollar bracket. Shout out to Base, Cenk Uygur, and Red Pill Anna, because they have been freaking snapping lately. I don't agree with them as it relates to policy, but as it relates to calling out these establishment hacks, okay, these fools, these people who think that they can pull the wool over my eyes and over yours. Oh yeah, the Young Turks kind of been on point lately as far as that goes. But those are just my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.
He was a menace, an absolute menace. Well, you're being a racist! Racist!